Jack here, owner of Hockey Alley, bringing you back hockey history and sticks, that is. I got a great guest here, a creator of the Synergy, Easton Synergy, Holmes Gassemi. How are you, Holmes?
Doing well, Jack. Good to speak with you.
Thank you. And so you, the guy who started Synergy back in, what would you say, what year?
Well, we developed it in 1999.
Okay.
And it came to market. We kind of had some pieces out at the NHL level, doing some in-game testing in November of '99, and it was launched at retail in the spring of 2000.
Okay, and the big question was the original. We're going to go into that, but before we start that, I want to ask, how long were you with Easton for when you started? And
I was there for just under 6 years. So I left in the spring of '05.
Okay.
So yeah, from '99 to '05.
Got it. That's that time they came out with Synergy 2, correct? And the synthesis.
Yeah, I mean we did a pretty much a whole one piece. The one piece category kind of started off with the Synergy. The first year was just a senior stick, and then we did different sizes, different flexes. We just kind of expanded the line, and then additional models, and then the last major stick that I did there was the Stealth before I left.
The Stealth was that's an awesome looking stick, and
yeah, that was actually my favorite. I loved how it shot, and as successful as the Synergy was, it really personally it wasn't a favorite of mine, but the Stealth was, my God, could that thing shoot?
I've never shot with a Stealth, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to ask you, so there's a debate between collectors on which color came out, the very first Synergy color. Yeah. What was it?
It's actually interesting because it was like a kind of like a metallic charcoal. It was like a darker gray metallic with some flecks in it. And that's the color we chose, and that's the color we tested. And then I noticed that it wasn't popping on television the way we had hoped. Mm-hmm. So we transitioned to a much brighter silver for the pros. And then we transitioned retail to that pro silver color like in year 2. So, we came to market with that darker gray for retail in 2000, but by 2001, everything was like the brighter silver that people probably think of when they think of the Synergy.
Yeah, I remember seeing that on the pro sticks and the NHL, but the retails, they were still the dark gray. Okay. So that that answers the question to everybody.
It was. I'm sorry, it wasn't a more intricate answer. It's just it just didn't pop on TV, and we went to silver. We're like, all right, let's just do everything in silver going forward.
That's awesome.
So,
What other sticks have you designed with Easton?
It's a good question. We did the grip, which was essentially an ultralight with a different Kevlar wrap, and that soft feel grip was one of the first things. We were the first company to bring that to the market. And I don't know if you ever used the original soft feel grip. It was completely different than what you see on a lot of sticks today. Like it didn't have the gloss finish, and it wasn't nearly as tacky. It was like a matte finish soft. Yeah. It was. It's just something that we brought out the technology on one dedicated shaft at the time, and then some guys kind of adopted it, and Mike Madonna was the first one who wanted it as tacky as possible, and that's where we kind of shifted to that glossy super tack grip that you see a lot in the marketplace now. Things transition like that, but we did the Focus Flex blade was one that I did there, and basically every the SL. At some point in 2002, we were starting to get some competitor pressure from different places. CCM had a pretty durable product. Louisville had their TPS response was something that had a performance element that some players liked. So we kind of split the Synergy line into two models. We went with a more aggressive performance model in the SL, and a more durable model with the ST. So that's kind of where the line started evolving. And then we had the Psycore model, which was, something with a little softer feel on the blade. So a lot of variations. So once the Synergy kind of grew out to a full line, then the Synthesis was the two-piece version of it, right? That came to market. That later became the Synergy 2, but I was gone by the time that happened.
And did you ever involve with the T-Flex shaft? Did you ever design any of those?
No, that was before my time, because the original T-Flex was in aluminum, and
yes,
that's kind of actually where, I start with a company in the right before Memorial Day of '99. I sit in on a strategy meeting, and there all this talk going on about this new stick that was going to be made. And so afterwards, I go into my boss's office. I'm like, all right, how far along? Like, what do we have? And he basically puts a white sheet of paper in front of me and goes, have at it. So the concept was there, and the concept was a strong one. Like, I won't bore you too long with this, but this is kind of where the Synergy came from. The opinion was held that the T-Flex was the best performance stick in the line, but the fact that it needed a dedicated blade dimension made it harder for it to succeed at retail. And retailers didn't want to carry too many patterns in a T-Flex blade. They'd run out of them. Consumers often didn't understand that it was a narrower blade, so it caused some frustration for them. So we wanted to find a way to have the T-Flex technology, kind of feature the T-Flex technology along with what we thought the future was going to be, which were like composite blades. So that's kind of was the starting point. And then fusing them together and creating a uniform look and a one-piece stick is kind of how that progression went. So we started with a concept, and we went through a bunch of different variations and materials, and brought it, and ended up with a stick that essentially weighed, just under a pound, which at the time was remarkable, right?
Yes.
Now you have like 370 gram sticks. Everyone makes one.
Yes.
But back then, to have something 450 grams was revolutionary.
Yes. It's amazing. I'd say it's the biggest invention in the last 50 years in hockey. The biggest.
I might be a little biased, but I tend to agree with you there. I think it definitely, it changed an entire category.
Yes,
sure. It created a category, and it changed sticks forever. So, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
If that doesn't sound too arrogant, I would.
Not at all. No. I want to ask you, how much of an influence do the NHL players have as far as you guys going in a certain direction when making a type of stick? Like you were mentioning, Mike Badano needed a little more tacky. Do they usually give you the ideas, or do you guys, or how many % of them give the ideas compared to the guys who work there?
Well, honestly, it varies. Some guys were really into their equipment, and they wanted a certain way. Look, there are a bunch of guys who wanted a certain way, but some of them, like the ideas they had, weren't just applicable to them. Like there were things that would work in the market, before we launched the Synergy, like we would have what we call the Pro Camp in the summertime, where we'd bring our endorsement athletes in and kind of collect all of our marketing material. And in 2000, in '99, when we did it, it was with the NHL guys that we brought in, like Madonna, Yzerman. Who else was part of that group? I'm not sure if Sakic came the first year or not, but Joe Thornton was there. So we had like 4 or 5 guys who come in and they shoot the sticks.
What about Brett Hull?
Brett Hull was a very, very, what are the words I would use for this? He was very particular about his equipment.
Yes.
So we definitely, Hull, and if you notice that he didn't really ever go into a Synergy. Like the kick point he preferred was a little different, So he was a Z bubble guy, pretty much when he was in Easton Composites. He loved the Z bubble and super soft flex. So he wasn't, and at that time he was really married to his wood blade. So his feedback on the Synergy was not one one that we didn't seek out, but he wasn't one of the guys we brought in. Like, we made samples for him to try out at camp that year. We didn't bring him in over the summer.
Got it.
And he may very well not even been endorsed an athlete at that time in '99. I think he wasn't in. He went to different companies.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there were we brought in some young guys. Chris Drury actually was one of the guys. I think he was maybe the second year we did this because they won the cup in '01, right? Yeah.
Yes, they did.
So he would have been. Yeah, so he would have been in '01 that he came in, and we were testing some variations of the synergy at that point. But their feedback, in many ways, is absolutely critical, and also the way the way they use the sticks, just to see how the durability and the performance on it is. Like, we can come up with something in a lab that we love, but we need to see how it plays, in the field. So that was definitely part of it, for sure.
Yeah. Is there a big difference between the original Synergy and, say, the Psycor and the Stealth? What was the biggest difference between? I know the Psycor had silicone, correct?
Yeah, I mean the Psycor was a variation of the Synergy. We went through different blade manufacturing processes, and at retail, one of the hardest things for the consumers to adapt to was the blade was really unforgivable when taking a pass or stick handling. So we wanted something that would be a little softer, a little more dampened, as someone was taking a hard pass. The NHL guys love the stiff blades, because they have the hands to manage that. But at retail, that was the one thing where your average player was having difficulty with. So we put in a piece of silicone in the blade that just kind of just dampened the feel of the blade, not to the point where it was dead, but just to the point where, like, receiving a pass or stick handling, it wasn't like the vibration was lower than what it was with at the time our pro model blades.
Yes. And what about the Stealth? Was there a big difference between that one?
The Stealth is a one-piece stick, like a true one-piece.
Oh, it's a true one-piece. Okay. So it's not a blade.
The Stealth it's a co-molded product. I mean, like, there was a shaft element. It was a two-step, but the bonding happened in the mold.
Got it.
So so it had a completely different feel and playability to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And how many? Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you.
Okay. How many sticks was Easton making a day for retail and pro stock? Like, what would players order per day if you were, per order, and how many were you guys making retail?
Well, I tell you, like, the pro, I can kind of give you a sense of just how the whole thing just exploded. Like, I was at the 2000 All-Star game, and we had Yzerman and Gomez there using the Synergy. I had a couple of my old coworkers were kind of laughing at the stick, saying, like, it looks like a '78 Camaro. Good luck selling it at $150. And we sat in the strategy meetings, and the director of sales exclaimed that he was gonna sell 1,500 of these, like, as a positive thing, like in 2000, right? So by inside of a year from that declaration, we were making a little over 1,800 a week.
Wow.
So it was a growth of over 50x production in a fairly short period of time.
Yes.
And so we had two guys at the 2000 All-Star game. We had like 16 or 17 at the 2001 All-Star game. So it just exploded. So.
Wow. It's awesome. It was the biggest thing. I mean, everybody else went copied after that, making one piece. Is the reason why it's all one piece now. No wood sticks anymore.
No, I mean, I forget what the trivia question. I'm not sure. Maybe Paul Stastny is the last guy to use anything wood in the NHL. I'm not sure. Maybe him or
Spezza.
Who's the defender? What's that?
Spezza or Adrian Aucoin.
I was going to say Aucoin might be the other guy because he actually used the full wood stick until he. Did he retire with wood, or was he in a one piece by the end? I honestly don't remember. But yeah. But it was. I want to say it was probably one of those two guys.
And Crosby was using wood blades when he came into the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and now we're 22 years removed from that launch, so they're probably, they're not probably, they're definitely kids who've grown up never using wood. Maybe up to 5-10 years ago, there were kids like maybe at Pee Wee level or youth sticks. They had something cut off or a wood stick. But and honestly, Jack, you see it in the way guys shoot now.
Yeah, it's different.
The technique is using the technology. Back then it was molding the technology to match the player's shooting style.
Right.
And now kids have learned how to shoot with these things, and it's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
And not even at the NHL level. Like, you go out, I skate, I see a 16-year-old shooting pucks. I'm like, holy cow, that's pretty good for you.
Yeah, it made a difference.
Yeah.
Who was the highest paid guy to use Easton?
At the time I was there, it was between Madonna and Eiselman.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, endorsement deals were like a big one was maybe 100, 150. It wasn't until Crosby where those numbers just blew up. I want to say Crosby was maybe. I obviously I don't have an actual number, but I heard around that he was making $1 million with his Reebok deals, and other guys making, around that now. It's tough to sustain that in hockey. Like it just I don't know if the sales and the revenue are there to sustain that. Mm-hmm. But clearly, if a $150 stick is now $350, there's definitely more margin going to the manufacturers and the retailers, because the cost of manufacturing isn't that much higher.
Yeah. What about Gretzky? Do you think he was paid quite a bit also when he started out with Easton?
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry, but Gretzky predated me, So if he was given a big ticket, it was in the aluminum days, and he certainly earned it. He put Easton on the map. I grew up playing hockey in New York City, and there were a couple of Rangers when I was growing up who were using Canadian sticks. So Easton was making those for Canadian, and then I think it was maybe 1984. They got into the game under their own brand, and I don't know if you remember Ulf Dahlin.
Of course.
But he was the first guy I ever saw wearing Easton gloves and an Easton aluminum stick, and I was like this 16-year-old kid going, "Holy bleep, I got to get one of those." So yeah, that's I became aware of that. I was always kind of a gear geek. So I noticed it immediately, but the Easton as a brand, at retail, it didn't really achieve those heights until they had Gretzky and that shiny aluminum for sure.
Yes. On the Easton shafts and One Piece, they say wear 9, performance 10. It has like a rating. How did they get a hold of that rating? How did that happen?
It's a relative thing. Like we wanted a way to communicate like what the user, like the consumer's expectations should be of a stick. So really the when we use those numbers, they were really in relation to one another. So it's like you can have a stick that's all performance, but it's just going to snap on you because it's just it's that targeted and it's that high octane. Or you can have something that's a 2x4 and is never going to break, but you're not necessarily going to get that much performance out of it. So using that as the continuum, we were trying to kind of communicate what the expectations would be of a stick for a consumer. But then with that said, I'm not sure if we ever put like a durability 7 on anything, So it was really relative of one to the other, But the Synergy clearly was more performance than durability. It wasn't designed to be a TPM 2020. So.
And there was a story about Mike Green trying to find his old Easton sticks. Can you please tell us about that?
That kind of that goes to how the stick shot, and the one, like the big benefit of that, and you notice there were defensemen, like Adam Foote was using the Stealth. And I remember talking to my pro guy, going like, "Why is Adam Foote using this? Like he has no use for this. Like he's cross-checking guys in front of the net. What is he doing with a Stealth?" And the truth is that the way that stick loaded as you shot it, you didn't need a full windup to get acceleration on your slap shot. So the zip you got on the puck from the point with just like a half clapper was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Green really liked that. And he was in that stick, and he was in the original stealth, and he stayed in it, and he went through the different variations. And when they discontinued it and went to kind of the like the S15 type look with the different construction, he was kind of out there without a stick to shoot, and he was going out on social media, and telling people if they had a right-handed sacket that he would buy it from them or send them something autographed in exchange. He was calling retail stores. I think the Caps equipment staff was like turning over stones everywhere trying to get some sticks for him to just stay in that design as long as he could.
Wow.
So, yeah, really interesting story, and a good guy. I really liked Mike, and he was a big fan of that stick for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome. Is that I would never think that would happen at the NHL level, but I guess it did.
Yeah, I mean, he was lucky, because he shot a sacket, right?
Yeah.
So that it wasn't a custom NHL pattern that he had. So, and he was willing to use a retail stealth over anything anyone else could give him, including Easton, in another model. So it was an interesting time, and he ended up going through a lot of sticks, man. At the end, in the last 4 or 5 years of his career, trying to find something that he liked.
Couldn't they make it again for him? I mean, that was a problem that they couldn't make the stick again, or I mean, even if he paid a lot of money to have the tooling design, I mean.
Well, I wasn't for when all that was going on. I wasn't there anymore, and Easton ended up selling to Bauer, and they shut down the factory. So I'm sure at that point it was done. But what I was surprised about was that they didn't make a whack of sticks for him before they discontinued it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if either they didn't order it for him or they wouldn't make it for him. I don't know, but when that happens, usually like a guy will just be like, all right, I'll take 100. Yeah. And I'll try to get through at least another year. I mean, who was Vlasic. I think Vlasic was the last diehard with an Easton, and they ordered a bunch for him. He didn't want to switch sticks.
No.
And so when again after the acquisition, when he couldn't get those Easton sticks anymore, he bought a bunch of them, or somehow he got a bunch of them. And until a year or two ago, he was still using those, and then at some point he ran out of them. And there was an article about it at that point. Like, I think they were still either vying for the playoffs or in the playoffs. So maybe it was more than 2 years ago. I don't know, Jack, man. With the pandemic, my sense of time is a little bit distorted at this point. But
yeah,
I could have sworn it was a couple of years ago, but it may have been 2018 for all I know.
4 or 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it was either last week or 2005. I'm not sure.
Yeah.